All right, thank you for staying with us. And right now we'll talk, that has been the focus for the past 2 weeks or thereabout since these upsurge in attacks against innocent Nigerians, especially the vulnerables, women, girls, pregnant women. In fact, unfortunately, in a particular place, a bridal procession, the entire bridal procession was kidnapped. The bride, the bridal girls and all of those things. It's as bad as that. Attack on schools, it happened in Kebbi, it happened in Niger, even attack on live worshippers, people who were worshiping. In Kwara State, thankfully, they have been brought back. Those in Kebbi State have been brought back, but we're still waiting. There are hundreds of those kidnapped in Niger State. In the middle of all that, many persons have been calling for, real quality leadership, especially in the security architecture and policy and the manpower to handle all of these. There is another leg of the threat of the U.S. government, the U.S. president, talking about coming into Nigeria for intervention to take out those criminal elements. And then in the middle of that, we heard that just a few days ago, the Minister of Defense, Badaru, former governor, Badaru, resigned on health grounds, whatever that is, and the nomination of who will replace him filled the air on many hands. And for a long time, maybe, I was telling my colleague that maybe this is the first time in recent times that we see many Nigerians rooting for a particular person, and that person was the erstwhile defense chief of defense staff, General Christopher Musa, who was army chief as well. And just a few days after that, the president, the commander-in-chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, nominated him. He was at the National Assembly yesterday for screening for close to 5 hours. I've been asked so many questions, and the man answered, to the best of his ability. So this morning, safe to say, General Christopher Gwabin Musa, has been confirmed as the defense minister in Nigeria. So he has his work cut out for him, at least from this end. We think about that. What are these new tasks? We must ask this question. And what are the timelines? What are the deliverables, especially in a time like this? We have 2 gentlemen who will make sense of these new developments with us. We have the DJ at Heritage Center, and of course, a public affairs analyst, a security enthusiast, by all means, and standard, Dr. Katch Onanuju. He joins us virtually. Doctor, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for today.
All right. And of course, we have another public affairs analyst with us from Oyo State, Mr. Isiaka Babatunde Gbadamosi. He joins us virtually as well. Mr. Gbadamosi, we are good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Let's start with Dr. Onanuju. If you followed my introduction, I said, maybe this is the first time in a long time that you will have many Nigerians, irrespective of the party affiliations or tribe, root for one person, and that person was General Christopher Musa. And finally, it's like the president had whatever is happening, or he has his own mind prepared before. That is why he removed him, from being the defense chief. He first promoted him from being an army chief to a defense chief. From defense chief, he was removed, and now is the minister in charge of defense, waiting to be, sworn in by the commander-in-chief. How important is this decision, and which appears overwhelming in terms of support as far as Nigeria is concerned at this time in the history of our nation? I'm talking about the confirmation of General Christopher Musa. Dr. Katch.
Well, you need to understand the circumstances under which General Musa was appointed. General Musa is from a directly affected community from Zango Kataf in Kaduna State. So his community suffered greatly during the periods of ethnic cleansings under the Buhari administration. And his community suffered the consequences of the complicity of the government in the killings, in that the government told the army, do not engage. So communities will be there when the militias will come and start killing the militias, the communities will be at the mercy of the militias' guns because the government has told the army, do not engage. So when Musa complained, Tinubu asked him, go become the chief of defense staff so that you can help your community. But to be that and to be effective, he had to reverse that particular doctrine of do not engage. And in doing it, there were political leaders on top of him. In this case, the Minister of Defense. And in that minister was Minister Badaru. So Badaru comes from the bulk of the Fulani leadership who were the people who wanted that policy of do not engage to remain so that their militia would not be touched. It's not that the security services could not do this job. It's just that the politicians told the soldiers do not engage with the militias. No matter what it is, even though the communities told you we're being attacked, in 10 minutes, when that 10 minutes come and they come to attack them, the soldiers were asked by the Buhari administration, do not engage. So Christopher Musa said no, that this must be reversed, and that brought problem. When that brought problem, a lot of them complained against him. That's why now that the American intervention has come, he was remembered and he was now asked to come back, become as Minister of Defense at the political leadership of the ministry, so that you can now give the instructions to the soldiers and the commanders to engage wherever you see the militiamen killing Nigerians anywhere. That's why his resume was known. His position on this particular policy was known. And bear in mind, it was that particular policy of do not engage by the Buhari administration that actually gave the Fulani militiamen the capacity to spread around the country, and it was now being created as an impression that the militias were stronger than members of the Nigerian security services. That's not true. So that's why Christopher was anticipated that if he comes, and he comes with the mindset to implement a reversal of that policy of do not engage, that Nigeria will finally start dealing with these militia people. Now, you had somebody like Matawali, he did a recent video in his sympathy. He said some of these bandits are not criminals. Why? That the bandits are reacting to the harsh policies of the Hausa militias called the Yambanga. And the Hausa militias are normal across the states of Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and of course Kano. But the local Hausa farmers are being killed by these foreign Fulanis for the sake of land, because what brought them in the first place was simply Buhari deciding to bring Fulanis from all over Africa and asking them to come to Nigeria without visa, come and settle in Nigeria. The problem about coming to settle in Nigeria is Nigerians don't have land to give them. So yes, Buhari tried to get land fraudulently through policies like grazing reserve. Nigerians refused. Cow colony, Nigerians refused. Then Ruga, Nigerians refused. Of course, you know how Ruga came. A policy was formed. It was called National Livestock Development Program, which Yemi Osibanjo, former vice president, was to be the chairman of that committee. The governors were to bring land, and then the federal government to bring the money, because under the law constitution, in the Land Use Act, the governors have control over our land. So they were to bring land and government to participate. But no, after the 2019 elections, before government was formed, Nigerians saw a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture issuing LPOs for Ruga. That was when Vice President Osibanjo said, no, this is not what we agreed. Osibanjo washed his hand off that project. That project died. So they continued the policy of trying to get land, and when they couldn't get it, these leaders were decided now to form militias that will now use waves of ethnic cleansings to gain land. And for that to happen, the army had to look the other way under Buratai. And for army to look the other way, the policy of do not engage was now introduced. And that was why you saw waves and waves of genocidal ethnic cleansing actions carried out against Hausas in Katsina, like places like Malumfashi, Basari, Sapana, Dutsima, Musa, Kankara, Maru, Anka, Dangobe, Sadau, even Guroyo. And these same things were also repeated all across southern Kaduna. It was also taken down to the Benue Valley because the people were looking primarily for where you have water. It was extended to Taraba State. In against the Kaka and the Pansa in the Mambila Plains. And this is the problem we've had. Of course, you know about Plateau Sleep. People couldn't go to their farms. This was due to the government's complicity in the genocidal actions of the Fulani militiamen, driven by elements of the Gandakoi, of the Tabita Polaku, and of course, the Mieti Allah Kato Hore, headed by Abdullahi Bello Bodejo.
All right, Dr. Katch.
8 years,
okay,
killed people in Plateau. Yes.
All right, you've talked about
what is it?
How you've talked about how the what's it called now, the do not engage policy, how it's more like hampered the effectiveness or the efficiency of General Christopher Musa when he was the Chief of Defense Staff. But now let's talk about the fact that many people would have expected that due to his antecedent in office, due to the fact that they knew he could have delivered, but that he would have been brought back in that capacity. But now, talking in practical terms, how much influence does a civilian now in this capacity, how much influence does him as a Minister of Defense, how much influence does he have over military operations?
Well, you need to understand the military under the democracy have sworn to submit to civilian authority. And that civilian authority is instrumented by the civilian politicians. No matter what you are as a military leader, you ought to listen to the political leaders of the Ministry of Defense who are the Minister of Defense. Him not being Minister of Defense, of course, would now run that policy of telling the commanders in field to abandon the Buhari policy of do not engage. Don't forget what happened recently in Kebbi State, where it was seen there was actionable intelligence that the kidnappers, that the terrorists will come to the school, and then somebody was posted there. But Minister Badaru was not able to fish out who it was in the army that made the phone call to tell those children to withdraw. So yes, you can say it was the politicians that had the strength of the political decision, not agreeing with President Tinubu, allowing that instruction to be given to the soldiers to do not engage. That was why they withdrew from the school in Kebbi, and the Fulani militias were able to go to the school and arrest. So that what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, you might get a military commander who wants to upturn the do not engage doctrine, but what about the political heads of the Ministry of Defense? So with Christopher right now as the political head of the Ministry of Defense to guide and tell every soldier, you have the powers, you have the permission, you have to go ahead from the Ministry of Defense, me being the minister, telling you now to disregard the old order of do not engage. Engage if you hear the cocking of a gun. Engage if you see anybody killing Nigerians, especially as the killings are being done by elements of the Mieti Allah and Tabita Polaco, and of course the Gandokoi. These are all foreign militias who are seeking for land to be able to resettle foreign Fulanis who have come in. Now, there are no Nigerians anywhere who have left their homes and are seeking to take over people's lands anywhere in Benue, in Plateau, in Calabar, in Taraba, or even in Kaduna State. No, these are foreigners. Don't listen to liars. These people are not Nigerians. Even if you give them money, you need to give them land. That's why you see in Plateau State, they occupied 64 communities. What we have to do, uproot those who have stolen those lands, remove them there and arrest them possibly. Let them bring those who committed the killings for them to be able to gain access to that land, whereas the indigenous owners of this land are currently languishing in IDP camps. These are the things we need to do. And of course, let us bring punishment to the Fulani leaders who conspired to make this possible against our country, because a lot were killed. We're not going to disturb about this. Previously, when I say this on your station, your anchors will try to hush me down simply because you were all afraid of us speaking the truth. Now that the Americans have said, after 12 years of my sustained campaign against this particular issue, the Americans now say that I'm right. That's why we cannot discuss without you being afraid of the things I'm saying. These things are not new, and that was why I accused some of you journalists as being part and parcel of this problem of not wanting to let the truth
Dr. Katch, I'm sure by now you understand that your take and your position on this program is always valid, and that's why we reach out to you to have, you know, your submission quite frank, honestly. And, you know, nobody from this end will hush you not to say what you are meant to say, but then there are laws guarding every profession. And I'm very sure you know, you're a communications expert yourself, and so you know all of these things. It's not about colluding not to say the truth. In fact, here, our motto is saying it as it is. So that's settled. We'll come back to you, sir. Let's go to Mr. Gbadamosi. Mr. Gbadamosi, how important is it to have appointed, you know, General Musa, the nomination, the screen about the Senate yesterday at the confirmation, General Musa? In fact, when General Musa was removed, it was more like some persons were wondering what is happening. Is it because contextually or by optics, the powers that be feel is doing too much? They had to get him out of the way to continue with the routine. And all of a sudden, Minister Badaru resigned, according to him, former Minister Badaru, former governor as well, on health grounds. And then the name of General Musa came up, and then that visit that he made to the Aso Rock, 2 days later, it was nominated. Does it mean that President Tinubu knew what he was doing ab initio, or it was just the power dynamics that played out that, you know, had to get General Musa now? He has been nominated, he has been confirmed, he's awaiting swearing in. What do you think happened? The dynamics of the removal of General Musa, the resignation of Minister Badaru, the nomination of General Musa to be defense minister, and his confirmation now. What do you think played out there?
Okay, thank you very much, Femi. Your question is a loaded one, as it were. Right. But let me start by saying that these are not coincidences. These are events that that happened sequentially on their own. I do not see them as coincidental. I see them as events that are taking place due to a number of things we have seen over time. You know, if you remember, you know that on October 1st there was supposed to be a march past, a parade for the independence, and we had it cancelled due to some kind of rumor of coup, and the government denied that there wasn't a coup. And some people say this was one of the things that led to the removal of the service chiefs as at that time. Which, but after that time, we also had the intervention of the Americans, the American president, and the issue of genocide and all of that. And all of these are things that led to an escalation, more or less, in some of the things we see in terms of insecurity, the kidnapping, and all of that. And that has given birth to the trend of events that we have seen. And I also think that if you remember, you know that Minister Badaru at a point in time said that the forests were such a place that the penetration of the military in terms of the Air Force would not be very effective. So I think these are indictments to his person and his office, and in terms of the understanding of what the capability of the Air Force and the military is. So I think these are a number of things that really shaped the coming in of General Musa. And I think also that General Musa, during his stay as the Chief of Defense Staff, has exhibited great understanding and the respect of the soldiers, such that has earned him a kind of, even when he was removed, some kind of sympathy on the part of the soldiers and even the political class. This appointment for me is a good thing. I look forward to seeing him succeed, but I know he's going to have his challenges. But before I go into those, I think there are the aspects where I want to maybe treat some use of words. Being on a national television, when we are addressing issues like this and we are using words like genocidal, ethnic cleansing, and the rest, must be able to talk about issue of the policy of do not engage. Interestingly, I have worked with the Ministry of Defense for close to 3 decades as a civil servant, and I do know, and I have a good understanding of the protocols within the system. I do know that there isn't any policy of do not engage within the Nigerian military or the Nigerian army. There are protocols for engagement in terms of what you do when you want to address an issue. There are protocols, but as a policy of government, there isn't any such policy that I know of or that there ever existed. So we might be looking at how to look at the protocols that are being used to engage in terms of the process of engagement of these bandits, and see how we tinker with them and become maybe a bit more proactive about them. Okay, so I am saying that General Musa is a military person, and I do know that he understands the military. But the question we might ask, and we might be wondering really, is, does he understand the political terrain? Now, his appointment came to appease a lot of quarters. It came to appease the international community, considering the fact that General Musa is from Southern Kaduna, considering the fact that General Musa is a Christian, and the narrative of the Christian genocide from President Trump. Also, it came to appease the inside Nigerian crisis, the one that people keep pushing. We have heard from Pastor Ezekiel recently another definition of genocide, according to him, where he said that the Muslim ticket was a genocidal political genocide against the Christian. So for me, I think it also came to appease some of these areas where people feel that no, this is being done to us. Also, if you look at General Musa, he has a fellowship in one of the churches of one of the pastors, the Pastor Abioye, I think, and this is one of the very outspoken pastors in Nigeria. So for me, it's a way of appeasing as many as possible, and it also has its political side to it. But the question I ask is, how would General Musa succeed within the political terrain? Because the Nigerian political terrain is very slippery, is a very delicate area, and you must navigate. As a general, as a soldier, you could give orders. But within the political system of being a minister, it's a different kettle of fish, it's a different ball game altogether. And that is the aspect I think that the president might need to help him to navigate, because I think that would really be a challenging area for him.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Gbadamosi, that was the question I was trying to ask Dr. Katch the other time about the influence, so to speak, that the Minister of Defense now will be, despite his background, will be able to exert, on military operations. But you've talked about Dr. Katch's take about ethnic cleansing and all of those aspects of the district. But I'd like to ask you now, in 90 days, do you think 90 days is a long time to give General Christopher Musa to let us know what his priorities are? During the grilling yesterday, he said that it was going to probe the death of some generals now, chief of which is General Musa Oba, who was killed by the terrorists. So in 90 days, that's in 3 months, how well do you think we should have seen what his priorities are, or whether he actually knows the terrain? You know, just as you've pointed out, that he may not know the civilian route to this, the political terrain of this.
Well, I think General Musa would do well with the military. I don't have a problem with that. He's been in the system for quite some time, and he has been dealing with the military. He knows the protocol. He knows how it operates. I am looking at, you see, General Musa is an officer and a gentleman, but at his past engagement, the media areas he has addressed, I think he has a shortcoming with dealing with media. And I think he needs a very good PR to be able to raise himself, not that he's a political position. Because, for example, in the Ministry of Defense,
I guess we are having some. Yeah, Mr. Gbadamosi, I guess we are having some connection issues with your audio. Can you hear us clearly better now?
I'm hearing you clearly.
Please land on your thoughts now.
Yes, I was saying, in the Ministry of Defense, there are 4 cells. You have the Army, the Air Force, and you have the civilian cells. And each of these have what they do. They have priorities. They have how they relate with each other. Civilian cell, for example, is actually designed to be able to organize and to be able to provide support services to the military. Build the barracks, build the procure armaments and all of that for them. And the other services have their job cut out for them in territorial.
All right. You know, so that hold on, sir. So that we won't disenfranchise our TV viewers from listening and hearing you clearly. We might have to have a way around your connection. But Dr. Katch, can you hear us, sir? Dr. Onanuju, are you with us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. We have like 2 minutes before.
Yes, I can hear you. I am with
before
you.
we go on break,
Yes.
while we are trying to fix the audio with Mr. Gbadamosi, you heard what he said, that, okay, it seems some of these things, these narratives across the country depends on who you are asking. And he said, being a person that has worked in that Ministry of Defense for like 3 decades, he can say there is no policy that looks like do not engage. Now, if there are undercurrents, is another thing. Now, you have always talked about this, do not engage, let the people move around, and the agenda of expansion, the Fulanization of all these things. Maybe, do you see a point in what he has said? Actually, he has made his point, and his point is very valid, but you might want to provide some context to what he has said.
Yes, let me repeat. Such a policy did exist. Okay?
As a policy.
The gentleman might be speaking. Yes, the policy did exist.
From where?
People could speak in regards to their knowledge of events. People could. I have been on this issue for 12 years on television. I every time keep in contact with generals. There are plenty of generals that will confirm one-on-one the policy did exist. But you see, the issues of denial is an issue of choice. I don't deny. I state it as it is, and when time comes, we will see what it is. I repeat, such a policy did exist. And I repeat, Christopher Musa championed the reversal of such a policy. The policy is called do not engage.
Are there proofs to this, Dr. Katch? Because you know what they say, he who alleges must prove.
I have proof. It is there. I follow these issues. It is well known in the military. This policy did exist.
All right,
it not only existed in command,
we are
also existed in actions.
Yeah,
that's
we are due for a break right now.
People will be there and they will be called and told, pull out. That is the policy of do not engage.
All right, you know, Dr. Katch and Mr. Gbadamosi, we will expand this conversation further, you know, especially the new tasks before that man. And just yesterday, the Secretary of State, you know, for the U.S., Marco Rubio, put up a statement and he talked about some of these things, sanctions against these insurgents and the apologists in Nigeria. How will that work out? Do you see that as a subtle intervention or subtle interference in the Nigerian affairs? And some will say, what exactly is the U.S. take in all of this matter? And of course, the man, General Musa, spoke yesterday at his screening. We allow you to have that. Right, thank you for staying with us. I'll be talking about the new sheriff in town, talking about the Defense Ministry, General Christopher Musa, whose appointment and nomination was confirmed yesterday by the Nigerian Senate. By the way, he made some key points while he went through his screening yesterday. We allow you to hear the man, Christopher Musa.
Senator, sir. Distinguished Senator, sir, thank you very much. And it shows the concern that we all have for the security situation in the country and the need for us to be very proactive in ensuring that we address them. So starting with the issues of General Uba, very unfortunate for a brigade commander to be captured and shown the way they did. It's really unfortunate and it's very painful. I want to assure Nigerians that we will not stand by and see terrorists have the capacity to do such. We're going to go after them fully, working together with all the security agencies and all the NDAs that I've said. We're going to investigate fully. So I know the Senate has established a committee to look into that. The armed forces also has a way. And then from the defense, we're going to make sure that we continue with the oversight over their activities. No indolence, no act of cowardice will be entertained. We're going to make sure that we follow them critically to see what they are doing from the commanders down to the troops. They must be professional. I was wondering how the general himself was alone when he's supposed to have his own troops with him. So there are questions that need answering. And I can assure you, sir, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We'll find out what happened, who are those involved, including that one for the children at Maga. It is unfortunate that the troops will be there and then will leave and shortly something happened. It is unacceptable. And I can assure you, sir, we're going to investigate and all those found culpable will face the law accordingly. And we'll make sure that we monitor all the activities of the armed forces and the security agencies, make sure that they remain very, very professional. Any information that comes will be treated adequately and make sure that the troops also take action as quickly as possible. But I want to assure Nigerians that, sir, coming on board, having served 39 years all through my career in the armed forces, we have seen what...
All right, that's the new confirmed Minister of Defense in Nigeria. Let me start with you, Mr. Babatunde. I'm sure possibly you at some point joined or monitor the entire screening process of the man. And with these few minutes that you have seen, many persons will say he sounds well, he speaks well. And in fairness to him, he has been at the front lines. He was Army Chief, he rose to that point. He was Defense Chief for a few months. And now he is the minister in charge. And he has raised some vital points. How could a Brigadier General be captured? What happens to his troops? And all of those things. Who gave that directive in Maga? But there is one thing you hinted on it earlier. That political will. Actually, he is going to be working with a former governor, quite a controversial person, Governor Matawale, who spoke in a kind of way that has gotten sticks yesterday, trying to play down and, making the insurgents look like there are reasons why they do that. We'll take that video later. But the dynamics is the man now from the khaki, he's wearing the kaftan right now. Can he still back orders, you know, as somebody on the front line, the way he will right now that he's in the mufti, but still in charge? What assurance are we having that it will be a different person as a minister?
Okay, I will cite you about 2 examples of ministers who were appointed and then they had the backings of their principal. What General Musa needs is the support of the president and commander-in-chief. 100% support. If he gets that, then he would succeed. The other thing is this. You see, when you had a ministerial fire at the Federal Capital Territory, he had a president who virtually followed him with demolition. That is the kind of support he had, you know. And you also have, in recent days, you have a minister also. Same thing. I expect that the president would give the kind of support that General Musa needs to get this job done. One thing I do not doubt is his capability in terms of the military aspect. And you see, there are going to be other issues. The other issues are that the fact that you have the chief of army staff, you have the chief of defense staff, the chief of defense staff, the chief of air staff, and chief of naval staff. These are professionals. These are the people who are supposed to be the technocrats in the field. Though they are his junior in terms of in the army, but you see, you cannot micromanage these people. You must also give them their respect and understand that they also understand what they are doing. All of the things he has said about investigating what happened and all of that, there are a lot of investigations to be done, a lot of them. For me, I think the entire protocol of the Nigerian army needs to be overhauled. There's a need to re-engage our how we engage in terms of military combat. So if we have, these are the things I think he should look at. And I also want to suggest that he must, as much as possible, steer clear of the politics. Because one thing that is very clear, you see, there are factors here. There is the MACBAN aspect. General Musa does not have what you might call the full support of the North. When he was chief of defense staff, when he was appointed chief of defense staff, there were part of the North that were not comfortable with it. Now, for him to become a full-fledged minister of defense, that would not sit well with a lot of people. And these are areas that he needs to see how he managed and is able to, and also the president give him the required support for him to be able to push through some of these things he's going to do. I want to maybe reflect, take you back a little bit. When General Lagbaja was chief of army staff, he went into Plateau State and gave direct orders to his soldiers. And for about more than a year, there was peace and quiet on the plateau. We didn't have the issue of killings and all of that. That tells you that when a commander knows what he's supposed to do, and the other officers knows also that our commander has given a marching order, they will follow it accordingly. So, like I said, one of the things that I think General also should pay attention to is his media communication aspect. I think he has a very serious issue in that area, and he must have a media team, if possible, to speak less to the press as much as possible, and let the media team engage, and let the work he is doing reflect all of the things that we want to see him do.
All right.
All right, Mr. Gbadamosi, I'd like to ask you what the indicators will be to the citizens to assess whether the new minister is failing in his duties or succeeding.
Oh, well, one of the very strong indicators for me would be for us to see that Boko Haram insurgents is completely quelled in Borno State. And I do know that the Nigerian military has the capacity. I listened to him talking about a drone costing about $100,000, an equivalent of 150 million naira, and talking about the US budget and then compared to the Nigerian budget and all of that. I think those are not comparisons we should be making here. We can, within the means we have, still protect and defend our territory. And I think it needs to be more ingenious, sit with the heads within the ministry and see how they could develop in-house strategies. We have people who produce high-grade drones in Nigeria, specifically in Abuja, who produce these drones and are even exporting these drones technology to other African countries and Europe. Why are we not looking inwards? And why are we not taking advantage of this? We have people who can produce armored vehicles in Nigeria, in Ogun State, in the Southeast. Why are we not taking advantage of all of this? So I think we should look inwards and look at how we strengthen our military with what we can produce within the country as much as possible. And also look at partnership with other countries. We can partner with China, we can partner with Turkey, we can partner with other countries that have technologies that are very good and we can domesticate in Nigeria. I think these are the things that would be yardstick to be able to assess the success of his tenure as the Minister of Defense.
All right, Dr. Katch.
Yes.
Just moving on now to the report right here on Punch newspaper, where we have this. I think Femi will dwell more on that, but I just want to talk about the NAS, on the abduction crisis, where NAS and Punch is asking the federal government to name terrorism financiers. Those financiers are not just with us now; they've been, but because the president of the United States is wading into the matter and talking about a ban. Now, NAS is talking about the federal government, asking the federal government to just now name the terrorism financiers. What will you have to say to that? What do you have to say to that? Why is it coming at this time? And how does this play out?
Truth is, our country has been captured. It was captured by politicians who were actually using violence as a strategy to gain political power. And when they did that successful capturing of the political space, and then you bring up from outside, in this case, from Dubai, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, these names of terrorism financiers. And some of them now happen to be people involved and engaged in government, actually in power. It's not going to work. So that's why we're saying, thank God for the United States administration's intervention in Nigeria. Again, a lot of what's going on now in Nigeria would never be possible if we didn't have the U.S. intervention. No matter what anybody tells you, the Ministry of Defense is not going to change. These particular people who are not only patrons, but also sympathizers and sponsors of terrorism have captured not only the Ministry of Defense, the federal government, and they exist everywhere in our life. They are the ones responsible for the poisoning of the army. How do I say that? They are the ones that took Boko Haram members, who they called the radicalized terrorists, and then infused them into the security services. Remember when we accused Burata, he said, no, it's not my problem. It is the names given to us by the political leadership that we now choose from. What were the names given to them by the political leadership? Boko Haram terrorists. You now claim they were de-radicalized. This is our problem. So, and then when we speak openly, of course you will see well-placed people who will come to counter what we're saying. And then it's not true. This is that, that is that. That's what I tell you. There was this, as the genocide went on, I was on your station. I'd call it what it is. But of course, if you get somebody who wants to sympathy of Ministry of Defense, they say, no, it's not so. Don't use such language.
Dr. Katch,
don't do this, don't do that. Someone told me.
Yes, sir. Talking about the U.S. intervention, yes. The Secretary of State, that's Marco Rubio, in a tweet yesterday said the United States is taking decisive action in response to the atrocities and violence against Christians in Nigeria and around the world. The State Department will restrict U.S. visas for those who knowingly direct, authorize, fund, support, or carry out violations of religious freedom. This visa policy applies to Nigeria and other governments or individuals that persecute people for their religious beliefs. So, Dr. Katch, before we go to Mr. Gbadamosi, it seems whatever the U.S. government, whatever the Nigerian government led by Nuhu Ribadu, that working team has said, or the Senate or anybody, it seems the UST holds that opinion, and they are saying, maybe by inference, if we are not going to come with military intervention, we start with visa restrictions. How much of a sanction would this be? Or don't you think maybe the US is just witch hunting Nigeria? Dr. Katch, if you heard me.
No. What you're saying is the US have well detailed. The US has, don't forget, the US has strong assets, intelligence assets all over Nigeria. So no matter the lies or the denials you hear from Nigerians, its officials, its friends, its paid agents, the US has the intelligence, and the US is moving forward and moving ahead with its actions. We welcome it. I am very happy. Last night on television, you saw Senator Marafa. He was very happy for the intervention by the US government in this issue. My dear brother, there are people that when you see a corpse being carried, you think it is firewood. Until yours is carried, until somebody you know is carried, until someone very close to you is carried. I am here in the north, and I know what's going on, and I see these issues, and I travel to various places as part of my work, and that's why I've been speaking. So I think we should get away from this issue of
all right, let's go to Mr. Gbadamosi now. Mr. Gbadamosi, if you can hear me now, the Minister of State for Defense, former Governor Matawale of Zamfara State, was at the villa speaking to the press, and he made some particular statement that is not sitting well with some Nigerians. I allow you to take a look and give us your impression of what you make of that statement from a Minister of Defense, even if it's for state.
It's the same, and it's not all of them are criminal. Not all of them are criminal, because if you know, or maybe if you investigate what is happening or what makes them to take those laws into their hand, some of them sometimes were cheated by so-called Insecurity, and I have to ban completely the Insecurity in my state. The Insecurity is those called vigilante group, who normally went to their settlement, destroy their property, and take their animals. So they doesn't have anyone to speak with. So sometimes they are going for revenge. Like if Insecurity attack them, so they will go for the reprisals. So that is what.
What do you make, Mr. Gbadamosi, what do you make of this statement from Minister of State for Defense Matawale, and now having Christopher Musa, in that same ministry, if you understand the context?
Okay, let's give some perspective to the clip we just watched. Yeah. That clip was when Minister Matawale was governor of Zamfara State. That was when he made those statements after visiting the president.
We are only talking about his state of mind and what he still believes now that he's the Minister of State.
Well, for me, it doesn't matter what he believed then and what he believes now. As far as I'm concerned, what that tells me is that he has some soft spot or some attitude to give to these terrorists. I don't think that should be anything we should accommodate. We should have zero tolerance for terrorists. We should not accommodate them in any way and give them some kind of guise. Nobody should be allowed to carry weapon and say he's doing reprisal as a result. There are channels through which you can vent your anger and on issues. So that is on the one side. Now, Minister Matawale cannot be Minister of State under the substantive minister Musa right now, General Musa, because for me, I think he's a politician, and as it were, he already is tinted with a lot of things that are not going well.
Right.
And for me, I think he needs to vacate that place, just like the former substantive minister Badaru has done, to have resigned. He also needs to resign, and I think the president should insist that he turn in his resignation letter. So the current minister, that is the incoming minister, would have a very good process of working. Then there is also one thing I must address. You see, I am a person that is very conscious of the use of words on a national television. You see, there are things that do not apply to our society as it is today. We have seen genocide in Rwanda. We have seen the United Nations go there and did an analysis of what happened. We have seen in Kosovo. We have seen the United Nations making proclamation. We are seeing right now in Gaza, and the United Nations has made proclamation. So for somebody to come into Nigeria and for us to give what is happening in Nigeria the kind of connotation that we see elsewhere would not be a fair thing to say. For
Mr.
people to say
Gbadamosi,
that thousands of
are you saying there is no? Are you saying you don't believe there is genocide in Nigeria?
However little it is.
Wrong number, please.
As it is today, as it stands today, by the definition of the word genocide, based on the international definition, there isn't a genocide in this country.
So how do you describe what is happening in Benue? How do you describe what is happening in Benue and Plateau?
Oh, good. What is happening in Benue and Plateau are criminal activities that our military are not being able to tackle. Our security services do not have the capacity to tackle, and they need to be upgraded to be able to tackle this insurgency and this crisis. It is not acceptable for some people to come, just like Doctor said, that people came from outside this country and they will take over people's land and sit there. Why is it that the Nigerian military cannot identify these people, profile them, and then send them out? So for me, these are the things we should look at. For us to start classifying the way we have done, we are giving the impression that we are Nigeria, or we are having a direct state sponsor. I mean, that is not correct. And that is said by several people. We have had Father Matibuka, he has said it. We have had the governor of Benue State has said it. We have had other people who have said these things, that there isn't anything called genocide or ethnic cleansing in Nigeria. We have a government in this country that is tackling the issue. The government, are they doing enough? No. And that is why we should make sure that we are on the neck of this government to ensure that they secure the lives and properties of Nigerians.
All right, so the systemic killing or the persecution of a large number of people from a particular national or ethnic group with the aim of destroying, what would you call that, Mr. Gbadamosi?
Exactly. Thank you very much. With the aim of destroying or wiping out.
Yes.
Now, if you say what is happening in the kidnapping, you say what is happening in Benue and Plateau is ethnic cleansing or is against the genocide against the Christians. What do you call what is happening in Zamfara? Zamfara too are losing lives.
That's why we cannot give it
a
blanket.
Mr. What do you call? Just a minute, please. Just a minute, please. Just a minute, please. What do you call what is happening in Katsina? Katsinas are losing lives, so many lives. What do you call what is happening in Borno State? These are lives that are being lost, but you don't give them a connotation of Christians or Muslim because these are criminal elements that are decimating our population. And as a nation, we must not tolerate such. That is the position I push, rather than we giving it the coloration of Christian, which is what President Trump has done, and he has done more damage than good for us as Nigerians. All
right, Dr. Katch, you might want to respond to that. Do we not have genocide, the word genocide in Nigeria? Forget about Christian and Muslim genocide. Genocide at all.
Mass killings, yeah.
Yes, we do have genocide in Plateau, in Benue, in Taraba, and Kaduna. There is nothing wrong with friends of government trying to push back, live in denial. My friend may have just come into this issue. I have been on this issue for over 12 years. There is a specific reason why this is going on. There is a need for land. Buhari sought this land. He sought grazing reserve. We didn't give him land. He sought cow policy, cow colony. We didn't.
Dr.
Dr.
Katch?
Katch, are you there?
If you can hear us, please go ahead and land on your thought for like a minute. Oh, sir, bad enough. We are almost rounding off. If you can hear us, Dr. Katch, and
yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay,
can you hear me? I can hear you very well.
Yeah, you have the next 30 seconds to round up, sir. You have most good. Please go ahead. You have 30 seconds. It seems the network is glitching, but it's
genocide is.
Yeah.
All right, so we just have to go. Actually, Dr. Katch Onanuju and Mr. Babatunde, Isiaka Gbadamosi, thank you for your time and your take. You are Nigerians like us, and we like you, and those lives that have been lost in Benue, in Plateau, in southern Kaduna, in Zamfara, those girls, that are being kidnapped on a daily, pregnant women, babies that are being slaughtered, even while they are strapped to their mother's back. Those pupils that are still languishing all the way from Niger State. All of us are Nigerians, and no one is more Nigerian than the other. We want to thank you, gentlemen, for your take. And of course, this is what we do here at Western Spring Television, saying it as it is. It's an ongoing, conversation. And until we see results, we won't back down at all. And even when we start getting results, we must stay focused on these matter. We continue tomorrow, trust us, to expand this conversation further, especially we now have a new man in charge of the Defense Ministry, who is going to be working with so many people. And one of the people he will work with is his own Minister of State, who is holding such an opinion, and which, I think Mr. Gbadamosi said, is like he has a soft spot for these people. And that's the man, one of those men superintending the Defense Ministry, who is deceiving who here. Trust us to be on this matter in the coming days. We have to go to bed.
All right, thank you, dear listener. Thank you, dear viewer. Thank you for keeping faith with us right here on the station, Western Spring Television. Moon and Spring makes a comeback for the ultimate installments tomorrow. Do well to join us so we can have a more robust conversation around, what's happening in our country. My name is Timitope Hachijalaluwalan, and tomorrow, stay on the good side of the law. We'll see you again.
Right, I think that's very good. Stay on the good side of the law, not the punitive side. Yeah. Actually, Femi Ojo is my name. Big shout out to the production team. We'll meet tomorrow, please, and everything that you do. Be alive. God bless Nigeria. Bye.